All right, so we're going to be using a propane tank for blacksmithing. So I'm going to put my hand on the valve, open it up clockwise. So counterclockwise, sorry, took a garden hose counterclockwise. Uh, this gauge here is how much is in the tank, so I definitely have enough gas. The needle is above 0. This gauge is how much is coming out. It's set at 20 psi. But I got propane. I turned the valve on. Basically, that's the main thing. I got gas in the tank. This thing's already set, so don't screw around with that. On the forge, I got two knobs that open the burners. So what I'm going to be doing once I get this lit is I'm going to be doing about a quarter turn counterclockwise on the top one, and then about a quarter turn counterclockwise on the bottom one. Okay, so as far as safety goes, we always want to be safe. You always want to have this door open when you light the forge, always open. And we used to have a push button igniter. I'll probably fix it pretty soon, but this whole forge is actually going to be rebuilt. I ordered a kit for it. But in the meantime, I got a half a paper towel, and I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to go ahead and light the paper towel. And I'm going to do both burners. That's it. Okay, so to start, this lighter is below the forge in a little drawer. As far as hammers go, we have a small hammer, which is a good choice for a beginner. I think this one's pretty large, probably too big to handle. This one is really way too big to handle. So I would say go for a smaller hammer rather than a large or extra large. As far as gripping your metal goes, we're going to be using 6 inches of 1/4 inch square steel rod. So it's 1/4 inch square steel rod, about 6 inches. And when this thing gets red hot, we do not want this thing flying in the air. And so these pliers I used to have students use, but even though I've never had an accident, um, you have to constantly hold this tight, and this thing can fly out a little bit easier. So I would have a pair of pliers, but not for when you're banging on the steel. The locking vice grips, I think, is a better call for a beginner because once they're set correctly, then it really grips them. So this is called a locking vice grip. You can do a little sketch of it if you want, but the main thing is there's an adjusting knob back here in the back. And so to open it up, I got to squeeze here and open it up. I got to put some lubrication on this thing, but what you want to do is loosen this knob right here until it takes a little bit of muscle to close it. It clicks. See? So if it's too loose, if this is too loose, when you close it, it won't even grip your metal. So you want to do it so that when you close it, it takes a little bit of pressure to have it grip it. Okay? And then sometimes I'll undo it on the table here, and then I'll use my pliers to put it back in the fire. You're also going to need an adjustable wrench and maybe any of those pliers. We do have some more blacksmithing tongs that are a good idea to grip your metal as well. And that's about it. So as far as also, I'm going to be using a hammer in my left hand, so I'm going to want to put on a right glove because when you put your hand near the fire, you want to protect your hand. So I don't like wearing a glove when I hammer. So I just have one glove for my hand that's not using the hammer. My metal in there, it's looking really, really red. So now we're gonna start to taper it out. Rotate, rotate, rotate. So I tapered it a little bit. Again, it's kind of hard to undo this right now, so I'm going to do it over the table and use my pliers to put this back in. So now what happens is your partner is over here on the other side. So your partner has their metal in here. Now they're tapering, right? And so when they're done, they put theirs back in here, and then you go next. And so to do this, you have to have exactly two people, not three, it's too many, and not one, because that's a waste of gas. So got to have two people. Now what we're going to do is, one way to do it is you can take a needle nose pliers. Once this is red hot, and we're going to wrap it up like a snail. I saw someone on YouTube use this. It's kind of might be easier as a beginner. Or you can do it on the anvil, which I'll try and demonstrate as well. All right, so it's not really the, you can kind of turn it this. That's one way to do it. Or you can be over here and I'll show you this a little bit more. Usually I drop this, but I'm just gonna get it hot right now just for a few seconds. Okay, the next thing is when you wrap your hook, you can do it around this. This is called a stake. Anvils have different stake attachments, so you can put this in at different angles, and they have different ones. So you also could wrap it around over here on the anvil on the end here. Doesn't really matter. So wrapped it around there, but you also could have wrapped it around over here too. Doesn't really matter. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be twisting this area here. I'm going to be twisting it so it kind of looks like those twists right there. So you have to move kind of fast here. You're going to want to, tighten this adjustable wrench on your thing, get it in the vise, and then twist it as fast as you can. No time for talking or anything like that. You could have someone help you with the vise if you want. You can kind of tag team it, but I'm going to do it myself. All right, so now we're doing the next step here. You can see it's all like bent up and stuff, but what I'm going for right now is just the shape. I can straighten it later. I'm trying to make that shape right like that. And then when it's cold, you still can work it. And the other thing you can do too is you can put this in a vise and you can bend it and things like that. So you can bend it like this. You can bend it forward and backwards. What you want to do right now is you want to look at your things straight on, straight from the side view, and straight from the top, and really try and make it to where it really looks straight and symmetrical. Um, as soon as you're done with the forge, you should turn it off. And even though it's cold right now, I can still um, bend it. So again, you have this in the vise like this, and you want to look directly above it and make sure that it looks like it's really straight. If it's not, you just put adjustable wrench on here, and you could just torque it to the left or right. And you also want to do it from the side view. Let me show you what I mean. So if yours look like this, that doesn't look, very, very great. So you could just go like this until you get it, nice and straight. So look from the side view, straight up and down. And now I'm going to go cool this off. Normally we have a bucket of water, but it's not full today. All right, next up is we have a vertical disc sander. And you don't have to use this, but in case you want to, it spins clockwise. So the right half is safe to use. The left half is not safe. The left half will lift your work up and it's not safe. But the right half is what you want. So if you want to shape, mine's pretty good, but yours might not be this nice. So if mine was a little bit like warped, not symmetrical, you turn this on and you can go like this and you can do that kind of thing. Okay, we have to be able to hang this, and I take away one letter grade if your hole in this thing is off center. Okay, so what we have here is a center punch, and you really want to do this before you go to the drill press. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my eyes and my brain and just really take my time here. Make sure that's in the center. Okay, so I got it right where I want. Get yourself a good size hammer and bam. See how you did? Looks good. Maybe even do it a second time. Do not pound on the desk. It's soft. But this is kind of like the anvil. It's really solid. And you want yourself, a pretty good dent there, okay? Now why do the dent? Well, because the drills tend to want to wander around and kind of drill where they want. So by making a dent, it's best. So in here, you're going to grab a drill. I'm just grabbing a 3/16 drill right here. And of course, we're around the drill press now. So we want to make sure no long hair is below our neck. But when you come up to the drill press like this, couple things. With the drill, what you don't want to do is just shove it all the way up there, okay? That's not what you want to do. You want to put it in just an inch and then tighten it. And we're going to tighten it by hand. So I'm tightening this by hand and I turn it by hand and it looks like it's looking good. If you get this in wrong, look at that. Oh, that looks super dangerous. So we want to tighten this thing called the Jacob's chuck by hand, turn it by hand. If everything looks good, then we're going to put in this thing called the chuck key, like this. And we're going to go clockwise with as much muscle as we got. All right, so that's in there. So chuck key, counterclockwise to get it out, clockwise to tighten it. Okay, next thing is securing your work. You can either put a piece of wood under your work, that'll work fine, or there's a little groove here too, which seems to work okay. There's a little groove here that kind of helps to hold your work. But in general, having a piece of wood underneath your work is a great idea because you don't want to drill into the vise. So got a piece of wood here, and you want to really tighten this vise tight. You want to tighten it really tight, and I didn't quite have it tight enough. That's what happened. But you just turn it off. So it's going to go through here. and then up slowly. All right, so again, if your hole is in the center, that's what we want. So that's looking good. Next thing we're gonna do is just sandblast it and paint it. Sandblast is not working, so we're gonna use not that thing, but this wire brush. Can you imagine long hair getting wrapped up in here, or a hoodie tie? That'd be really, really bad news. Also, loose jewelry, and you actually don't want gloves. No gloves here, unsafe. You want bare hands, and you could do this. You could use pliers on here if you wanted to, if you just were really afraid. But we'll get the sandblaster working too. That just is another way to do it. So we got this thing kind of cleaned up, and now we're gonna go paint it. I don't want to get a little bit of wire like this. And you don't want to hold on to the, just do it in short bursts, basically. You don't want to have drips happen. Now, a lot of you probably painted before. That should be enough. When you're done, hold the can upside down and then spray. And that cleans off the nozzle for the next person to use. So probably just one coat of paint is good enough. And you got yourself a nice coat hanger. All right, well, thanks for watching.